again, welcome to today's webinar, the newest way to audit your PPC account, a live demo of a totally new AdWords Grader. We're really excited to have you guys here. And let's get started by getting some of the logistics out of the way so we can get straight to the fun. So following the presentation, you'll receive an email with today's recording and slides, so you can share it with coworkers. You can review it whenever you'd like. We'll also have time for Q&A following the presentation, so be sure to submit your questions for Larry throughout the webinar, and we'll get to as many as possible. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with WordStream, we are a search marketing software provider with both free and paid tools to help you easily grow your AdWords and Bing campaigns. So if you're looking to master paid search, definitely check out our website. We have a great resource in PPC University with lots of guides and webinars and whatnot for you to view, so you can check that out at wordstream.com/learn. Now, we encourage you guys to join in on the conversation on Twitter today. You can follow @WordStream and our presenter today and our founder @Larry Kim. Now, today's presenter is, like I mentioned, Larry Kim. He is the founder of WordStream. He also has an adorable one-year-old little boy, PPC kid. He's been doing PPC and SEO for well over 10 years and recently was named the #1 PPC expert from PPC Hero for the last 3 years running.
Holy moly! only way to go is down from here.
Wow.
All right, what's on the agenda here today?
So today we're going to talk about why you need to audit your AdWords account. We're going to give you examples of the top 5% of accounts that are crushing AdWords, and we're also going to kind of show you the accounts that are sinking and in desperate need of a life raft. So we'll show you a wide gamut of examples, and we'll also give you a guided tour of the free AdWords Grader.
Thanks, Kelly. And I thought it would be cool, before jumping into all the data, to just ask a question to the audience. And my question is very simple. It's just, have you ever audited your AdWords account before? And so the options are, what's an AdWords account, or what's an AdWords audit? Not yet, but I'm interested in learning about how to do an AdWords audit. And the other one is, yes, I've done it every few months or so. So I'm just curious to get a sense for if this is a regular thing or a brand new thing in terms of conceptually speaking. Kelly, how are we doing for responses today?
We're looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results with everybody. It looks like more than half of our audience hasn't done one yet, and they're really interested in learning more. So this is a great chance for you guys to get started while it's kind of even with what's an AdWords audit, and then every few months or so.
Awesome. So I think this will be very interesting because this is a pretty cool material that I've put together here. But before talking about all the nitty-gritty of how to do this AdWords audit, let's just spend a minute here talking about why you should be auditing a PPC account such as your AdWords account. And just to give you a kind of an example, I just have a pop quiz question here, and the question is, which ad wins in this scenario? So suppose you had two competing ads in your campaigns, ad A and ad B. Each were in similar positions with similar number of impressions, and one was slightly more clicks than the other, but one was doing at 1.4% click-through rate, and the other one was generating 2.1 click-through rate. And if the question was which ad has the best click-through rate, assuming that you are rotating these ads at the same time, the question is, how would you be able to know which ad wins? And the reason why this is a trick question is because both ads suck. So meaning neither A or B is worth declaring a winner, not even ad B, which had a slightly higher click-through rate than ad A. And the reason is because 2% click-through rate in position 3 stinks. So here's where the value of an audit comes into play. You can answer questions like, what's a good click-through rate for search in the first place, like in terms of like, where should I be? And so it turns out, so if you're around the average third position in search, as you know, higher positions in the search results page have higher expected click-through rates. But if you're in the third spot, you should be targeting a minimum of 3% just to be average. And nobody strives to be average. You want to be above average. So that's why I'm thinking neither of those is really that interesting. And again, just trying to point out that it would be very difficult to know that because AdWords doesn't necessarily tell you how good you're doing relative to all the other accounts out there. So this notion of PPC benchmarks, like not just knowing how you're doing in your account, but how that compares to all the other competing advertisers. This notion of external PPC benchmarks, it's very, very important because it gives you a sense for how well you're doing against the peer set or the competitors. And these benchmarks, they vary greatly by many different factors. One of them has to do with industry and sub-industry. So, for example, as you can see here, click-through rate for the shopping and antiques and collectibles. It varies based on the device, and the costs per clicks are different. And if I were to switch to, say, like travel or insurance, I think you would find completely different benchmarks. So it's both very important to kind of get a sense for how the industry is doing because search is very important and competitive. It's like no account is an island. Like you're competing in this live auction for clicks and for attention, and so I think it matters how you're doing versus other people. And the only way to benchmark this is to use external benchmarks that you can obtain through an external audit of that account. So there's a saying that in English, like it's difficult to see the forest for the trees. It's actually very, very difficult to see the forest for the trees in AdWords or in search engine marketing because you can totally see kind of like all the metrics in your account, but there is no external context giving you a sense for how good could it be. Like, is that good enough? Am I doing very, very well, or am I doing very poorly? It's like very difficult to know if you're just given kind of these numbers like 1.5% conversion rate or 1.7% click-through rate. So that's one of the key benefits of an audit. That is to say that without an audit, it's difficult to know sort of what are the ranges of possible numbers that you might be getting and understanding whether or not those numbers are any good or not. The other reason why I would suggest doing an audit, periodically, maybe every month or every quarter, has to do with the fact that it's not just how you're doing against the competitors, but how is that trending over time? Because remember, search engine marketing, it's this live auction, system competing for attention, and new competitors enter and exit the space over time, as well as there's new features and functions being changed or added to AdWords. And so it's not just how you're doing like, last month or 2 months ago, it's how are you doing this month or this quarter. So I would definitely recommend kind of getting these, it's almost like getting a credit check periodically, once a year, once a quarter, however, probably more frequently the more you're spending on AdWords. All right, so that's sort of enough about sort of why I believe that PPC auditing is very important, and hopefully I've convinced you of some of those ideas. At this point, I'd like to introduce you to the new free AdWords Grader, and this is a product that we have developed here for free at WordStream. You can go to www.wordstream.com/Google-AdWords, or just Google it. It's the AdWords Grader. And basically, it's a really cool instant report card generator for your AdWords account. And one of the key things that you do when you sign up for this thing on the web, it's not you just filling out your name and your information like company and stuff like this, but one of the most important things that you do here is you pick your industry and sub-industry. So this is super important. We have almost 240 different industries and sub-industries to pick from, so you can find one that is very specific to your business. And the reason why that's so important is because you wouldn't, remember how I was saying earlier that benchmarks like click-through rates vary different if you're in shopping versus finance versus travel. It's very important that you pick the accurate industry and sub-industry so that we can give you a really good evaluation that's relevant to your business. The second thing that happens when you use this free AdWords Grader tool is that it asks you to log into Google AdWords. So it'll just ask you to just sign in, and the reason why that it does this is because the tool needs to just pull down half a dozen reports from your AdWords account. It's just read-only. We're only going to download a few recent reports to see like what are some of the key metrics in your account, so that we can compare them to other kind of comparative benchmarks for similar advertisers in your industry. And so that's a very personalized PPC audit, allowing you to really get a good idea of how you're doing against other companies in that industry. So I'm going to go into this in more depth in just a second, but in a nutshell, what this tool does is it provides these competitive benchmarks that I've been talking about versus your competition. We define competition as other accounts in your industry with similar spend amount. So that's your monthly spend amount. So say you're spending $0 to $500 a month. That would be one grouping of companies. We would not compare the performance of a company spending $500 a month with the performance of a company spending $5 million a month. That doesn't make sense. It would be like having the heavyweight boxing champion fighting like the flyweight boxer. That would be no contest. So we try to group together companies that are similar in size in terms of their monthly spend amounts, and because obviously smaller businesses have less invested in search, and bigger businesses with higher spend have more invested in search, so we have higher standards. We also segment by industry and country, so that you're getting a more accurate kind of comparison. And we give you an overall grade for your account, so that would be this 3% here. Telling a little bit about our grading system, we grade on a percentile scale, so a little bit like your SATs, if you remember those from college. Where if you're in the 3rd percentile, that means you're out of 100 college-bound students, you're in the very bottom 3. So that would be kind of very discouraging. That would be a low number. And we also break out that overall number by individual categories. So just like how there was like English and science and math and all this stuff, we'll give you kind of how does your account compare in 8 different categories, such as quality score, or click-through rate, keyword optimization, and each of those scores are based on percentiles. So a 50% score means pack. A 99th percentile means out of 100 people, you're the second from the top. All right, so let's. So I think what you can kind of as a comparison, you can think of this PPC auditing tool as a little bit like Zillow, but for PPC accounts. So Zillow was kind of my inspiration for building this thing. So say you're in the market for a house, you wouldn't just say what's the housing prices in Massachusetts. You would want to have comparable prices to look at when doing your research. You would look for other similar houses in the neighborhood with similar characteristics like number of beds, square feet. And then using a database of similar entities, you could make kind of an educated guess. And I think that some tools like Zillow are essential for anyone doing like anything in real estate. You really need to have comparables and doing kind of this market research, and it's similarly important for AdWords. All right, so that's all I had for kind of the introductory material. I thought now we could just jump into some demos of actual accounts to kind of give you a sense for the auditing process. Hey, Callie, I just wanted to ask any questions so far from you or anyone on the line? I think you might be muted.
Yes, I was. Thanks. We do have a few that we can address right now. So one question that came in, I think is from an agency, and they're saying, if they're trying to win a client over and they want to be able to run the grader, but they don't have the trust from that potential client at this point, do you have any tips on how to kind of build that trust up so that they can gain access to their account so that they can run the grader, or maybe perhaps, any workarounds for how to win that trust so that they're able to run the grader for potential clients and show them the opportunity if they work with them of growth?
Sure. Well, I mean, the problem that you describe isn't necessarily specific to the AdWords grader, because like if you're an agency and you need to drum up business, I think that part of the RFP process for acquiring that new client will require you to get permission to look over their accounts and do some kind of analysis into like how they're doing. So I guess, I mean, it's kind of like going to the doctor's office and you know, telling the doctor, I need you to tell me how I am, but I'm not going to give you my charts, or I'm not going to tell you anything about my history. I mean, it's I guess it's very difficult to, you know, I would just kind of frame it to the client or the prospective client, saying like, you know, this is a very valuable like physical evaluation of how you're doing, and it's very difficult for us to give you a good estimate on how we can help you without you know, getting a little bit of information on how you're doing currently, you know. So
Yeah.
I would pitch it as this huge value, like, because otherwise you just giving them sort of generic platitudes. We'll make things better, but you know, you can't quantify that, and
Right.
if that's their preference, then this is a very confused client. So, anyways, let's were any other questions so far, Kelly?
No, I think we're good. Thanks.
All right, so I thought we could go through just a couple of these live reports on your screen, kind of walk you through them and kind of give you a sense for how this works. Now, in these reports, I've kind of X'd out the names. So it says XXXXX name, AdWords Performance Grade is 3%. So I've eliminated that person's names from this report card so that they can remain anonymous. But yes, this is not a great account. It's not doing well, objectively speaking, compared to other similar accounts. It's kind of in the bottom 3 percentile. And yeah, it's saying that your account could be substantially improved if you leverage the different campaign optimizations and cost-saving measures. So let's just look at this account kind of at a high level. Overall, it's spending roughly $500 a month. All right, so it's not a huge spender. It's kind of a typical small, medium-sized businesses. Like there's millions of advertisers spending around this much every month on AdWords. And what the report shows you, and Kelly, can you see my screen, by the way? I switched over to my browser. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, we're all good.
Oh, great. So why on earth would this company get such a bad score? Like, how is our system giving him this or her this grade of 3%? And the reason is we can look through all the different constituent parts, components of that grade. And the first one that's kind of comes to my mind as being potentially negative, not so great, has to do with this notion of wasted spend. So WordStream does some analysis on this account and kind of can figure out how much of the spend is wasteful. And of course, you know, I love search marketing. It's very powerful, but not every click that you buy is going to be, you know, perfect for your business. That's why they have negative keywords. And so this particular company has wasted a decent amount of money in projected wasted spend in the last year. And one of the things that we notice that's potentially troubling is that we look at a benchmark called the number of negative keywords added, and this particular company has added none of them in the last quarter, so in the last 3 months, not even one negative keyword, whereas other similar companies in this industry have done more like 135. So that's this notion of benchmarking your level of activity, in this case 0, to the industry benchmark, which is much higher, and that's why they have a very low mark here. So I'm not going to go through every single metric here, but I wanted to go over some of the more important ones. This one has to do with quality score optimization. So quality score, it's very important because it kind of gives you a sense for what Google thinks of the quality of your ads. A high quality score on your keywords, like 10 out of 10, is deemed to be very good. Lower is deemed to be bad. And what you can see here, this particular company is not doing well here. So in this graph, it's this orange curve shows you sort of the distribution of other companies in this industry in terms of how many you would expect to see at the different quality score levels of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the blue bars on this chart have to do with the actual quality score of the keywords in this particular account. And as you can see, there's more keywords, like way more kind of mediocre keywords of quality score 3 and 5 in this particular advertiser accounts, and way fewer than expected higher quality keywords of 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so that's why this particular company is doing so poorly with sort of like a bottom third quality score, and it's just saying, like, if you could just get those numbers up by 1 point on average, you would definitely save either $93 a month or get 43 more clicks per month, and that could be a big deal for a small business, getting those additional 43 clicks. So why on earth? One of the really cool things about this benchmarking application is that it's not static. So what do I mean by this? I can trend the quality score, not just today's quality score, which was 34%, which is very, very low, but you can see that there's been a problem building over the last couple months here, since going back to April, wherein the account quality score has been degrading steadily. So this can give you a sense for not only how you're doing right now, but where that's trending, and that's important because it tells you whether or not the work that you're doing or the work that you're not doing is having the intended results or not. So moving along, why on earth does this company have such a poor quality score? And the answer is because the click-through rate is terrible, right? Because quality score has to do with Google's click-through rate and how you're doing versus the average click-through rate. So it's just saying that in this particular account, most of of course, as you know, the click-through rate is higher the higher the ad position. So if you're in the first position, your click-through rate should be closer to 6, 7, 8% here. These are the top 50 keywords in the account, these dots. And the green dots are keywords that are exceeding the expected click-through rate, and the red keywords are the ones that are falling below the expectation. And so you can see there's a lot of red on this graph, and so as a result of the low click-through rate, it's getting a low quality score, which is what you would expect. So at least it's kind of describing to you, you can specifically identify which keywords are underperforming and either fix them or eliminate them. Another problematic area that is being revealed by this free audit has to do with a rather anemic level of account activity. So search marketing is, of course, super valuable as a marketing venue, because you can optimize and kind of learn and improve the performance of your account over time by kind of analyzing past performances and making tweaks over time. And so that requires periodically changing campaigns, keywords, ad texts, ad groups, placements, etc. So here again, where the user is kind of plagued by low activity in terms of they've not created any new campaigns, 53 new keywords, 1 ad text, 0 placements, and 0 ad groups in the last 3 months, and that is in the bottom 22% of activity level compared to other advertisers. Sometimes I have these prospects who run this free AdWords Grader to check up on their agency to see what's going on, and it says something like they have done nothing in the last 3 months, and that's quite shocking, because maybe they might be spending a couple $1,000s on this agency, and the agency is not actually doing anything. And so this kind of account can reveal whether or not what is actually happening, which I think advertisers have a right to know. Just moving along here, we mentioned that the click-through rate of the keywords were pretty bad, and it follows that the click-through rate on the ads are also very, very bad. A couple of thoughts here. This particular account has very few ads, so only 12 active ads relative to an industry benchmark of closer to 85. You can see here we're looking at the best and worst ad. If you were to mouse over those, you would see the ads, but I don't want to reveal the identity of this advertiser, so I will not click on that. But you could find out what your best and worst ad is, what's the click-through rate relative to the expected click-through rate. And as you can see, all of these fall short substantially, like by 50% below the expected click-through rate, and so that's why we are giving it such a bad grade here. Unfortunately. Another one has to do with long-tail keyword optimization. So this has to do with, like, why is this person's click-through rate and ad text click-through rates so bad? It's because their keyword selection is brutal. So, you know, most of the keywords that they're targeting are like two-word keywords. You see how 87% of them are very kind of head terms like life insurance or something like that, like with 2 words. You should be definitely trying to target more specific keywords like, you know, term life insurance or whole life, you know, insurance or something more specific, going after the long tail, because those tend to get higher click-through rates. You know, this excessively targeting the head leads us to believe that they're kind of in the bottom third in terms of their keyword optimization. Just wanting to see if that trend was kind of an issue today, or if it was a problem that has been building over time. And again, for any one of those metrics, you can kind of see how they're doing over time. And as you can see, it actually wasn't really an issue back in April. They had a very good keyword targeting in place, but it must have broken sometime more recently in maybe oh, so this is actually backwards. So it actually broke more recently, and somewhere around March 26th. And the reason this is important is because you can then kind of back test and figure out, you know, what did we do back then that made the keyword optimization sort of fall apart, and then you can undo the damage. So many times, you know, optimizations don't have their intended effect, and a tool like this auditing tool can let you know whether or not your hard work had the positive impact that you were hoping for it to have, or whether or not it backfired. In this case, it appears something has broken. So just moving along here, impression share. Oh, this is very important. This has to do with the market share for the ads that you're running. And so in this case, what we're finding is that 81% of the time, Google isn't even bothering to show these ads for this advertiser because the quality and the click-through rate is so bad that AdWords would rather not show anything at all than show this advertiser's ad that is very unlikely to be clicked on. And so obviously that's problematic, because if you're losing 81% of your impression share, that means that it's almost like you're not running ad campaigns at all, because most of the time that people are searching for the keywords you're interested in, your ads are not showing. So I think this whole kind of all these metrics kind of get together to tell a story of neglect, which is kind of like, you know, the quality score is terrible because and as a result the quality score is so bad, the ads aren't even showing. Why is the quality score so bad? It's because the click-through rate was so bad, and the ad text optimization was so bad. Why? It's because the keyword selection is very broad and unspecific, and that there's not a lot of activity happening in terms of use of negative keywords and other optimization happening. So, you know, so this is problematic, and it's kind of needs to be addressed. They're falling in the bottom 24 percentile for companies in terms of impression share captured. Again, last one here has to do with landing page optimization. This, of course, it makes a lot of sense if you're paying for these clicks in pay-per-click marketing, that you want to send you want to send prospects to the most relevant pages on your site. You shouldn't have just 1 or 2 landing pages for all the keywords in your account. You should send them to different pages, different offers, depending on the keywords. And this particular company has just 3 active landing pages, whereas other companies in this space have more like 15. And so you can see how that could be problematic, and is kind of in the bottom 26% of effort. You know, mobile advertising has to do with what percentage of your PPC spend is dedicated to mobile. versus desktop. Yet, so in this case, it's like 40, almost 50-50. Like 48% of the budget goes to mobile. Yet all these ads, like 2 out of 7 campaigns, ad groups have no mobile text ads set up. None of the campaigns have mobile site links set up, and none of the campaigns have mobile call extensions. So that's a problem. Half of the accounts, half of the activity in this account is coming from mobile. And on mobile, obviously, you might want to call the businesses, yet this particular company is not taking advantage of this, and this is one of the findings that are kind of surfaced in this audit. And finally, you would expect kind of just a quick hit best practices in terms of like, are they using geo-targeting? Oops, no. But they appear to be using these other best practices like conversion tracking and language targeting and network targeting. So hopefully, you can start to see how a product like this, a free audit tool like this, can give you a very quick evaluation of sort of the most important core metrics in an account, such as click-through rates and landing page optimization and keyword targeting and account activity, to give a sense for what is going on. What are the areas to improve and focus on, and what are the problems that are doing well and terribly. Callie, any thoughts or questions so far?
We do have a few questions, yeah. So with agencies, if you have a ton of different accounts, say like several hundred accounts in their MCC, they can get into the grader and only grade one account at a time, correct?
Yes, and there's no limit of how many accounts you want to grade. Just go ahead. This is a free tool.
Great. And then another question is, someone who was talking to their Google account strategist, and he was informed that their quality scores were doing really well, but since then they've definitely taken a turn for the worse. Without seeing their account and understanding more about it, is there any general advice that you could provide them to boost their scores again?
Well, I think this particular example, Kelly, was a really great example of how doing the audit really got to the root of cause of the problem here. The quality score sucked because there was no effort being applied to the account. Like no new ads were being written, no new negative keywords were being applied. The keyword targeting that was being leveraged was very broad and unspecific. Using going after head terms rather than 3 or more long tail phrase keywords. So I think an audit like this could definitely kind of give you some clues into what are the problems, and also tracking back to like what changed recently. Remember, like we looked at the long tail targeting, and we said that it was doing well earlier this year, and then something broke recently. In the last few months that seems to have caused the problems. So like I think this notion of trending the key metrics over time is super important as well. So I think that could be very helpful. Should we just move on? Should we move on then?
Yep.
Cool. So listeners, that was kind of a downer. That company is struggling. It doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to be at the bottom 3% of advertisers. You can do some work and put in some effort and try out different things and eventually become the top 98th percentile of advertisers in your industry. And I just wanted to kind of give you an example of the opposite, which is like an advertiser who is really doing all the right things, and how great life can be if you're sitting in the top 2% of accounts in your industry. This particular company, it's a British company, so they're spending £2,000 per month. The name of the company has been kind of anonymized, so I will not reveal who this company is. But what I can tell you is they are kicking butt. So, for example, in negative keyword research, this particular company, for this industry, people are doing maybe 135 negative keywords in the last quarter. This company has been really, really busy adding thousands of them, 8,356 in the last quarter. That's a lot of eliminated wasted spend possibly a little too enthusiastic, but nevertheless, you can see that someone is not asleep at the switch, and they're definitely working very hard to get the click-through rates up by using negative keywords. What about quality score? So here that you can see they got a 95 percentile score, so that's like almost the best of the best here. And you can see the orange curve showing like here's the industry average, and the blue bars is this account, and this account is full of quality score 9 and 10 keywords. And is killing the industry average, and that is why this company is doing so well. Let's just take a look to see if they were always doing well, or if this is a more recent phenomenon. And what you can see here is by looking at the performance tracker, you can see that actually this particular it's a blip because they only have 1, 2, 3, 4. They only have 5 reports on file. So just ignore that first data point. But you can see here that they've been doing well historically. Like for the last half year at least, they've been doing well. So isn't that interesting? Like, even though this company is doing so well, it's not like they're resting on their laurels. Somebody is still, even though they're doing so well, someone in the last quarter added 8,000 negative keywords to the account, just to keep on top of things. So it just tells me that anything worth doing well will take a certain amount of effort, and you can't just like stop. It's kind of like I don't know, losing weight. You can't just have a fad thing. It has to be kind of a change in lifestyle or something. So what about click-through rates? So obviously you would expect the click-through rate to be doing well if the quality scores are so high. And wow, do you remember that other graph where most of the dots, most of the keywords were falling below the expected click-through rate curve? This company has figured out the opposite. They have keywords doing 30, 40, 50%, 10% click-through rates. So the majority of the keywords in this account are above average in terms of the performance, in fact, this company is it's in the 92nd percentile in terms of their performance, and so the reason is because they've been able to come up with really killer keyword and ad combinations that generate very, very high click-through rates, and it is indeed possible. It doesn't come for free. You have to do some work. So you can see here in this person's account activity, they've added 26 different campaigns, 10,000 new keywords, 600 ads, and 81 ad groups, all in the last quarter. So somebody is working hard to try out many different ad combinations and keyword combinations and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And I think the results kind of speak for themselves. Let's just talk about long tail keyword optimization. Remember, I was saying you really, really need to pick keywords that are more specific to your business as opposed to broad and unspecific keywords that are 1 or 2 words in length. And notice how 75% of this company's keyword selection is of the long tail variety. So they're going after the 3 or longer word phrases, which is then enabling them to get that really, really high click-through rate, which then lets them get very, very high quality scores, right? Oh, and remember this one here, the impression share. So in this case, they are losing a good amount of impression share, 49%. However, it's not. First of all, it's much better than that other company that was losing 81% of their impression share. Like, this is doing substantially better. But a lot of this has to do with just share lost due to budget. Well, they just can't afford to buy all the clicks, so that's not really their fault. It's it's not that Google isn't showing the ads. It's just that Google is showing the ads so often and so frequently that they've run out of budget, and that is why they are losing their impression share. But I think overall that's still not a terrible situation to be in, because they still have the option to increase their budget if they wish, but not the obligation to. And so you can see they're doing very well here. So while things are doing very, very well for this account, for the majority of the categories that we've kind of evaluated, we also noticed that there is one kind of area for improvement. And what we've noticed is that all of the traffic for this advertiser is being pushed to 2 landing pages, whereas the average for this industry has 15 landing pages. And so this is kind of an underachievement. So even if you're doing well, sometimes, this account auditing tool can always find areas of improvement, like, because maybe there's one area or 2 areas where you should be focusing on. So if I was this advertiser, I would be spending the next month on trying to come up with 1 or 2 or 3 more offers to use to send my traffic to, so that I wasn't sending all the traffic to just 2 landing pages. Just talking about some of the mobile. So this one, it's saying most of the traffic is actually desktop traffic. So mobile does not appear to be a huge concern for this particular account, for this industry. It varies by industry. And then it just says that there's like a couple areas where they could potentially use language targeting and geo-targeting, but otherwise they are using most of the correct features and functions to maximize the return on investment. Awesome. So, wow, isn't that amazing? So you have on one hand this account where they're doing so badly and so badly that Google doesn't even want to show those ads. And then on the other hand, you have this kind of scrappy advertiser here who's like doing the work, coming up with the keywords and the ads and actually putting in time and effort and killing it, and getting kind of like a really, really good performance. Any thoughts or questions, Callie, for you or from the audience here?
Yeah, we have one question about landing page optimization. So say kind of you're doing well in all other areas. Would you be okay with your landing page not having the best score, or would you kind of focus on that? But how do you focus on that without kind of maintaining where you are with everything else?
Well, one thing that I would focus on is this page here. The worst, I'm not going to mouse over it because then it'll reveal the identity of this advertiser, but one thing I can tell you is that this company has one landing page that is doing very, very well with a 12.9% conversion rate. So that's pretty good. I wouldn't touch anything because why mess with success? But this other one here, it's not doing well. It's actually converting at 0.7%. So one thing to minimize risk, because like when you're doing these optimizations, there's always risk. You could make things better, but oftentimes you actually make things worse. One way to kind of minimize that risk is to focus on the worst pages, like the ones that are doing the least well, and that way, even if things don't improve, it'll be like no change. You went from a situation where you had a crappy landing page and the new landing page is similarly crappy. The worst situation is where you take a really, really great landing page and turn that into junk, by accident. Well-intended optimizations often have unintended consequences. It's not guaranteed that every change will improve your situation. So focus on the ones that are doing the worst to begin with, and that will minimize your risk. Any other questions from our audience here?
Yeah, we have one more. So what's the best way to improve your quality score for an ad group?
Oh, it's just raise the click-through rate. It's just absolutely has everything to do with this baby here. Like, make sure that the keywords and the ads that you're picking have above expected click-through rates. So whatever position you're in, whether you're in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth position, you can see what is the expected click-through rate for any given position, and try to ensure that the majority of the keywords in your account are exceeding that expected click-through rate. It's that simple. Just find keywords that are very specific and that with commercial intent, that where if people are searching on those keywords, it means that they want to buy whatever it is you're selling. Go after those keywords and to get high click-through rates.
Great.
So let's just go back to our PowerPoint and summarize some of the key findings of this little exercise today. And I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I call donkeys and unicorns. So what the heck is donkeys and unicorns? I'll tell you about that in just a second. It's something that I obsess over just slightly. I've done a lot of research into PPC advertising over the last few years, and what I can tell you guys is that it is PPC search advertising is incredibly competitive. So I think Google tries to hide that from the typical advertiser so as not to scare them. But what you don't know is what I was talking about earlier, is like how much better your situation could be, or how potentially how much other people might be beating you by. And what I'm finding is that there's definitely winners and losers in search marketing. I would love for every one of my advertisers to be winners, but it's like anything else in life where there's an average. You're going to have people who fall above and below those averages in terms of performance. So like, just take, for example, ad click-through rates, which is a very, very important determination of whether or not Google will show your ads or not, and whether or not like they'll show up prominently. So click-through rates, what I can tell you is that the top, that orange line is sort of the average click-through rate. The green line is sort of the top 15% of advertisers, which gets 2 times the expected click-through rates. The top 5% of advertisers, the purple line, gets 3 times the expected click-through rates. So the goal should not be to be average. I mean, who on the world, does something striving to be average? I think we're small business owners or marketers that want to beat out our competition, and we would prefer to be above average. And so that's where this notion of donkeys versus unicorns comes into play. Sort of when you have this distribution of differentiated performance, there's going to be, by definition, 50% of advertisers falling below the expected average. And I refer to these kind of lovingly as donkeys because they're kind of very ordinary, and there's many of them. You can strive to be the top 15% or the top 5%. I, as a long-term goal, would like us all to strive to be the top 1%. It's definitely possible, as you saw with that advertiser who was just putting in the time and effort to try out many different ads and keywords and campaigns and ad groups and negative keywords. It's definitely possible. There's of kind of focused effort and time that he was able to get into like the 99th percentile or something like that. And so he is a unicorn because of his hard work and smart work. And as a result, he is definitely benefiting from very, very discounted cost per clicks in search. Guys, it's like this for every metric in search. So like previously I was just talking about click-through rates. When I look at, say, what's typical conversion rates for clicks from search, like the top 10% of accounts will have conversion rates that are 3 to 5 times higher than the average account. So I'm just suggesting that we should try to be remarkable rather than unremarkable. And so that's what I'm saying here. Just try to be a unicorn among a sea of donkeys, and the only way that you can be this is that if you understand sort of what's the possible ranges of click-through rates and conversion rates, etc., that you should be striving for, and ensuring that your business falls among the more remarkable range. So guys, we're almost at the end of our time today. I wanted to summarize what we were talking about today in terms of my kind of whirlwind tour of PPC auditing. So why should we focus on PPC audits? It's because they provide context. AdWords is super competitive. A audit from a company like WordStream can give you valuable context into understanding how you're doing versus other companies like your company. And if you're and it can kind of tell you what's going on in your account. Sometimes you get lost in your account. You can take a step back here and kind of see the high-level picture of what's happening in your account. Secondly, it highlighted areas of strengths and weaknesses. So in the first account, there was no areas of strength. It was just all weaknesses. But in the second example, you saw that the landing pages was kind of one kind of red spot among an otherwise pretty remarkable account. And so that would highlight, if you have time to work on one thing in the next month or next quarter, it should be the landing pages for that particular advertiser. I think that's very valuable to understand where to focus your time, because your time is very valuable. You saw how the performance tracker will give you trend analysis, so it can figure out if a problem is been problematic for forever, or if it was some as a result of some recent change, and really give you an answer to whether or not the optimizations that you're engaging with are having the intended effect or not. And finally, this notion of competition. PPC marketing, incredibly competitive, and that is why you need to be remarkable, i.e. a unicorn, rather than unremarkable, i.e. a donkey. We do not want to be donkeys. So, Kelly, can you tell our audience about the special offers we have for them today?
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone has any last-minute questions, be sure to submit them, and we can try to get to one or two more. But as Larry mentioned, we have some special offers for all of you today. We have a free live demo of the WordStream Advisor. So you can run your grader, and then you can go ahead and talk to one of our consultants about how you can improve upon what you find out in your grader. Or if you'd like a one-on-one AdWords assessment, we have that as an option as well. You can get sync up with an AdWords certified consultant, and they'll walk you through your account, point out different opportunities for growth, and kind of go through different areas where you need some improvement and point out what you're doing really well and how to replicate that in other areas. And finally, if you're all set with your PPC, go ahead and just select that as well. While you guys are selecting that, Larry, we might have a few more questions for you. So the first one is, when it comes to when you're first filling out the grader and you're selecting your industry and then sub-industry, how is that kind of calculated, and how can we make sure that they're actually getting information and a fair comparison against their competitors?
Oh, well, as long as you declare your industry correctly when you fill out the information, I and my team have figured out how to come up with all the benchmarks for, click-through rates and landing pages and activity for each of those something like 250 subcategories. So we've figured that out. It's basically we have lots and lots of customers and lots of information, and we've been able to put together those competitive benchmarks.
Great. Now I think one last question is, how can you assess cost per converted click when it's on the lower end, but other aspects in your account are performing high? Cost
per converted click is low, but everything else is struggling. So that's not a terrible problem to be in. I mean, because you're, as long as the cost per converted click, that's kind of the bottom of the funnel, and that's kind of the bottom line, if you will. And if that's doing well, then it's not the end of the world. It just means things could be better, even more better than they are, if you got all the rest of the stuff working harder, working more remarkably. So I would just work your way through the audit, tackling kind of the different sections one by one, starting with the ones with the lowest scores, and I think that would ripple through in terms of reducing your cost per click, and further reduce the cost per converted click over time.
Great. Well, I don't think we have any other questions, so that concludes today's webinar. Thanks so much for joining us, and Larry, thank you for your time. It was great as usual. And if anyone's interested, didn't get to select a special offer, just reply to the email that will be sent out later on this afternoon, which will have both the recording and slides. So don't be shy. If you have any follow-up questions, we're here to help you out. So thanks so much, and have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Kelly, for organizing.